All right, guys, happy Wednesday. This is Bobby and Nate from Voltage, and this week we're with the team from NOAA. We've got Brianna and Alan. Alan will be here in just a moment, but Brianna, thank you so much for joining us this week.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So I'm really excited to talk about what you guys are doing in Bitcoin banking. I saw you hit 70K signups on the wait list this morning. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. Sometimes the viral loops just happen. Um, but we're really excited because obviously it's validation for what we're building, right? Um, and the more people that sign up, the more we realize, okay, we need to get this product out to everyone ASAP, because clearly everyone wants it. So it's great. It's great for us.
Yeah. So behind the voltage account, this is Bobby, and like one of the things I've done since I came into Bitcoin in 2017 was right in 2018 or 19, before I really started like holding all my Bitcoin in cold storage. As I would explore and try all of the different yield apps, the earning apps, like that just has my attention, and I know just knowing our culture and how people think about like managing their money and allocating capital, like people are really excited to, it seems, earn yield and just to live on a Bitcoin standard. There's the get on zero crowd. You've got cold storage folks and some who want to maybe leverage their Bitcoin for getting loans and doing business acquisitions. But give us kind of a high level, maybe just how Noah is just seeing the needs of the market and just what you guys are focused on and just what you're building for, I guess, in this first iteration and the beta of your platform.
Totally. Yeah. So obviously, I wish we could release all of our features right away. I think that would be amazing, but we are starting off with, a very payments focused and very rewards focused app. So what that means is, you'll be able to send Lightning payments, which we can already do right now, using a NOAA Lightning address, which is really exciting. We got a noah.me domain, so you'll be able to register your Lightning address when you become a beta tester. So beta testers are already able to pre-register that. So we have the Lightning address. We have Lightning payments that we're trying to make more intuitive for a non-crypto, non-Bitcoin native person, right? So I'm thinking of some of my best friends, my parents, you know, ex coworkers or whatever that just aren't tuned into other Bitcoin apps, other crypto apps. And I hate the word crypto, but crypto users are going to be, or I think of them as like future Bitcoiners, right? Um, so just really, really easy to use Lightning payments. That's what we want to hone down first. The second is the rewards piece. So we're building out a really fun gamified app where basically, everything that you do in the app, every good piece of financial behavior, you get rewarded for with NOAA points, and those points, kind of like credit card points, you can pay off your cards, you can exchange for sats, you can do a whole bunch of things with them. Apply, to your yield, so have a higher yield on your account, and all of these other things, and basically collect these badges that kind of make it a little bit of a game to play in the app. But that's really just the first iteration of the app. What we're going to be releasing later down the line, which I'm super, super excited about, is our savings platform, and our credit card. In addition to that, we're looking into options for bill pay within the app, for actual payroll services. So if you're a company that's employing people around the world, it's really difficult to pay your employees on the fiat standard, but with Bitcoin it's a lot easier. So we're looking into those types of solutions, basically to just create this financial super app that it's the only app you need, and that's what we're trying to build here. But I'm really excited about it.
That is exciting. Yeah, like I remember when I first joined Robinhood years ago, back when like I paid attention to Wall Street bets and just seeing like whenever you make a certain decision in the app and the confetti goes off and you get that dopamine hit, it's like I feel like there's a shift from these dopamine hit apps that get you to just kind of make quick, fast decisions. But I feel like with Bitcoin and just the ethos of Bitcoiners living and operating with a low time preference, there's actually dopamine hits you guys could create that would lead to better saving or spending habits, and just kind of aligning your app with the ethos of a Bitcoiner, which is kind of cool to think about.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to be a casino in your pocket, right? We want to help people achieve their financial goals, not, scam people into thinking that they're doing that when in reality we're actually profiting off of them, right? Um, so I think, for us, we're trying to we're being very careful here, and we're considering things like, okay, uh, what what currencies should we offer that are going to help Bitcoin adoption and not hinder it. How can we guide people so that they understand the reason why we don't have millions of coins in the app? Help them understand what real money is and what assets are, right? These are things that have to do with having basic financial literacy, which, um, to no one's fault, is it's lacking in most people, right? I would say that a lot of my close friends are not very financially literate, but they're very smart people, and so I think a lot that we're doing too has to do with education and helping folks, really understand what it is that they're doing and rewarding them for that, right? Um, that's a really
Mm.
big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a stat like Lending Club that I read today. One third of consumers earning 250,000 or more annually live paycheck to paycheck, and I can imagine there's obviously some education that could be done by you guys in terms of just savings, financial literacy, but also educating on Bitcoin. Like, how do you guys approach that problem where, there's not really financial education in schools, but you guys kind of can grab two problems by the horns, just basic financial education and savings, but also Bitcoin. How do y'all approach that?
So that's actually a really good question. The first thing that we've started to do is write tons of blog posts, basic blog posts explaining, simple concepts like what is Bitcoin, what is a blockchain in general, and why does everyone keep talking about it? Telling stories of how we got into Bitcoin. We just released a new blog post written by our growth manager, Josephine, who literally quit her job in the beauty industry, didn't know anything about Bitcoin, but was so moved by Noah's mission. And she just said, okay, look, you have to be patient with me. I'm going to learn. Just sharing stories and helping people through this whole process of learning, I think is going to be really important in education. Being inclusive of everyone who's interested in learning about Bitcoin as well. I think there is a lot of exclusivity in the Bitcoin community in general. And I get it. Like, you have to safeguard these you have to safeguard this precious community, but also allow people who are curious to enter into it, even if they might not have the right ideas in the beginning. So already going into more crypto focused communities and educating there as well, because those are the types of people that will be most susceptible to understanding what Bitcoin is, right? And then also, I think a big wave of education is going to happen when we can figure out how to visually explain Bitcoin in a very easy to understand way, without even using language. That's something that I know that we want to start exploring a little bit, since we are a global app and we have a global audience, but it's so hard to communicate, in a language that everyone understands. So visually, I think that's going to be the easiest way to do that. But it's definitely very challenging.
Yeah. So, from a marketing standpoint, like with you guys having 70,000 people on the wait list, what kind of gets me excited is the day you guys officially launch and people can download the official app and it's on the App Store. There's a certain amount of downloads you need in like a day and a week to maybe hit the top and really like kind of take the viral wait list growth forward to reach more people. Like, what's that line in the sand, and what type of impact do you guys see that making and just creating awareness about Bitcoin?
Oh God, if we become the top in the App Store on the first launch week, I'm gonna have a panic attack. But I do think that having Bitcoin apps in particular, um, being in the top 10, that's obviously a goal, and that's a win for everyone. Because if Zebedee wins, if Noah wins, if whatever, if Satoshi wins, I don't really care. It's all driving Bitcoin adoption. And so for me, that's super exciting. It's really exciting for me to see people who, don't know much about Bitcoin hop into our Discord because they signed up to the waitlist because one of their friends told them we had a cool brand or something. And then they actually become Bitcoiners just by hanging out with us, right? I think that we can make this happen at a larger scale, even when we have hundreds of thousands to hopefully millions of people using our app, and learning from us in the app directly. Um, so yeah, very excited for that. But there's definitely lots of planning to do before that even happens.
Absolutely. And is Alan here right now? Did he bounce out, or is that him under the Noah account? Do we know if Alan's here with us?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Um, he was a speaker here under Remnant AI, but I believe he had some technical difficulties, so I'm just gonna give him a second again.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
one
Now, as
sec.
far as yeah,
All right, let's see if he can rejoin.
and just while we're waiting for him, you're going to be using Lightning addresses within the app, correct?
Yep, very excited about that.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, we're gonna be hopefully releasing our Lightning address functionality in the next few weeks. So hopefully by the next beta cohort after the second one. Um, and I'm very, very excited to start using mine. We have our team members are already reserving their Lightning addresses. Um, but yeah, I think that's really going to be key to this like next stage of uh, I guess if you want to call it Bitcoin banking, right? Is having all of these different apps communicate with each other, and to be able to like seamlessly transfer money in such a simple way. It's really like the next frontier, and I really think that if traditional banks and even neobanks, if they don't catch up to this, and if they're unable to be interoperable with other banks, they're going to be losing a lot of customers, in my opinion. So
All right, cool. I'm pulling Alan up here right now. All right, it looks like he's connecting. Yeah, like I know right now you mentioned you guys are rolling out the ability for payments to be simple and easy from the app. And one of the really popular topics I know that catches a lot of heat, but people also enjoy is yield. And while a lot of yield comes from rehypothecation and like some of these inherent risks. I'm not a financial strategist by any means and understand the stuff as an expert, but what I do see is rehypothecation, those funds get lent out to short sellers, which can suppress the price of Bitcoin, but it's also putting your capital at risk for a small return. So I would be really interested to hear what Alan has to share just in terms of how you guys view helping people create yield with their Bitcoin and like what that is going to look like, just for Bitcoin banking and neo banking in the future.
totally. I do think that you need to make him a speaker, though. I've been trying to press invite to speak, but it doesn't seem to be working. So maybe it'll work if you do it.
Yeah, I sent him a couple here. This is where we make a couple of jokes about Twitter Spaces and its inconsistency, and everybody slaps the laughing emoji, right?
Yeah, let's all do that. Haha. I love Twitter Spaces.
Hey,
I oh
no, I was just gonna say Twitter's just like a small startup though, so cut them some slack.
sure, yeah. Oh, Jason is laughing really hard right now. Well, I can speak a little bit to this because we are exploring different ways to, create yield in the app, and you know, one of the ways is actually a more it's it's a very simple way to create yield, and it's essentially to leverage these savings badges that we're creating in the app, right? And to actually think of how we can create ads within the app through these savings badges so that folks can earn yield in a very safe way. Let's say Voltage wants to have a Voltage branded badge in the Noah app, and you can click on the badge and see everything about Voltage, and it can give you a savings boost. Let's say it'll give you 5% back for a month, right? And you can apply that savings badge to your account. That's one of the ways that we're exploring yield, because we are looking into DeFi, we are looking into Genesis, we're looking into these other sorts of solutions, and Genesis does do rehypothecation. So it is definitely very tricky, especially creating yields on Bitcoin. So it's definitely something that we're continuing to do research on. But for the time being, we are going to be using these savings badges to give people initial savings boosts, which I think personally is a lot safer than putting a bunch of money into a yield farming scheme. But
Right. So that would be like a brand actually sponsors that badge, and that's how individuals could earn.
right, right, exactly. Um, and this is really, really appealing for folks who, you know, maybe don't have much Bitcoin in their wallet, right? But they can earn a pretty high yield on it for like a month straight and then use it, right? Um, so I think this is something that is going to be really appealing in emerging markets, especially, which right now is really our main demographic. If we look at the spread of folks who have signed up for the wait list, so you know even providing that kind of yield is much better than nothing at all. And then also, if you're looking at the rates of other yield offering services, like I recently received an email from BlockFi saying that they're continuously decreasing their rates. Just even having the ability to go, okay, my money is safe in here, and I'm still generating yield is such a huge game changer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when I pose these questions, I definitely speak from my own brain. Most of the team at Voltage, like when we talk about these things, we are very for like holding our own keys. So like these
Right,
questions by no means are like a reflection of like the team or like our a company or anything, but at the same time, like this is a very in demand thing from just consumers and people broadly in the world. A lot of people do not have savings, so if there's a way they
right.
can make an economic decision to like earn for themselves, it's a personal decision they need to make. So I think that's a really creative way that you guys are approaching it, and pretty cool because if you have a very effective app and a powerful banking experience for people, and then brands can come in and create awareness and people can earn yield from that. That's a pretty interesting approach. I really like that. And Alan, hey, welcome, man.
Finally,
Hey,
yay.
thanks. Yeah, sorry for the background noise on the road. Been a long drive, and I'm in a zone where there seems to be no coverage. So sorry about that. And been a long day anyway. Shoot any question you have, maybe on the yield side of things. I think this is where we were.
Yeah.
I Bobby, can I want to talk about the yield thing just for a second because I'm really really familiar with earning sats by selling channels on the Lightning Network. on Lightning Pool and Magma and these places. And I really, really like that because I always have control, right? I'm just providing inbound liquidity and people are paying me for it. Have you guys considered maybe the possibility of just like running really big Lightning nodes and then you can open up channels with your clients' deposits for a price and then maybe keep half of that and then give the other half back to the customer, something like that that's pretty close to no risk?
So that is, I mean, technically it's not something you call yield, but that's definitely, I mean, if you ask me, it's probably one of the best ways to uh, generate sats on your stack at the moment in a safe manner, and also it's very useful for everybody. I think what could be helpful to optimize your return is if we I'm sure there are going to be some solutions that are going to come up to optimize your channels and the fees you take, and just to maximize your revenue on your channels. But I can say this is something that Noah is working on at the moment, but it's one way. And the other way, to generate a yield, what we call technically a yield at the moment, it's not very um, cypherpunk, but it's through a custodian. There's Leden, for instance, that does something with Genesis, and yeah, I think there's still plenty of things to be done, to generate yield in a safe manner, and this is definitely something we're looking at NOAA, and there are different avenues to explore for sure in the coming months. Um,
Yeah, I think Bitcoin definitely like a lot of people's, brains are constantly thinking about this. I just think it would be cool to like if I wanted to use Noah as my bank, like I give you 10 million sats or something, right? And just and you say, "Okay, we'll hold it for 3 months or whatever." And then on the back end, like I don't even know you're doing it, but you're selling that liquidity for channels on your nodes that you guys are running or something. And then like I see that at the end of the 90 days.
that's
That's kind of what I was thinking.
absolutely something that's been discussed, and but it's really, and and probably down the road, there is going to be different ways to provide a return on your Bitcoin with Noah, and it's going to be aligned with your whether you want to be in control of your keys, whether your risk appetite, and there maybe custodian, typical, the Genesis slash Leden type of yield generation, or exactly as you described. Definitely something that we discussed with our CTO, who's not later than a couple of weeks ago, where yeah, we could assign liquidity from our users to some nodes to safely generate a return for our users, and yeah, that's very very interesting and something we want to explore.
I love how you guys are exploring all of these options. That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you both said, there's everyone's trying to figure this out, right? And I don't think that there is a tried and true solution right in this moment. And so I think in order to get it right, it requires exploring literally every single option, right? Um, and we want to make sure that when we do start giving yield to folks using the app, that it is very safe, it's very compliant, and there's very, very, very little risk involved. Because like I said, you know, people using this app aren't here to gamble or anything. They're just here to save very safely. Um, so there's definitely a lot of research that still needs to be done. Um, but we do have some solutions that I think uh, that can work in the short term for sure.
Awesome. I'd love to kind of take a shift here and talk about, account and routing numbers. One thing with legacy banks, after, 1 o'clock or so my time, I can't send a wire until the next day. And, account banking and routing numbers are challenging to keep up with, and memorize. And you don't want to keep them saved on a local device because, if someone has access to it, that can create problems. But with Lightning addresses and just Bitcoin making banking easier. How are you guys approaching just that identity, maybe outside of simply the Lightning address? Like, are account and routing numbers going to be a thing of the future?
Totally. I can take a stab at this one, and then Alan, if you want to add anything. But
And the goal is rather to replace routing numbers, ACH, what have you, with LN URL, right, and Lightning addresses, and make it very convenient for people to live on a Bitcoin standard. That's the whole thing. So there would have, I guess, and it's definitely not part of the roadmap at the moment, there would have to be a very strong case to implement routing numbers and allow people to have fiat accounts on Noah. It's not part of the plan, but it's, I mean,
yeah, I don't think that's the future of money, at least.
at all. At all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We're definitely building for the future. And, right now, not everyone is living on a Bitcoin standard, but I think, in a few years, it will become a lot more normal to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So I have a question just from a lending perspective. We know 99 out of 100 Bitcoiners that are on Bitcoin Twitter do not want to take loans against Bitcoin. It's obviously incredibly risky, but those who have a massive stack, they might want to take a loan for some reason because they do live on a Bitcoin standard. And, traditional commercial financing, if you want an SBA loan, you might be paying 3%. Like for a loan through Stripe, you might use a local bank and get it in that 3 to 5% range. Hard money lending, which the rates of those are typically in like the 11, 12, 13, 18%. Like some of those rates are actually higher than what you can get through Unchained and some of these other platforms. So what are you guys doing and just thinking about in terms of lending? Like I've noticed that some rates in Bitcoin are actually much better than hard money lenders, and a lot of investors use hard money loans for different business decisions. But how are you guys approaching just the lending market since we're really in the first inning of that?
you wanna go ahead, Brianna, or you want me to go?
You can go. I could
Yeah.
talk about the credit card. I'm
Yeah,
happy to
no,
do
sure.
that. Yeah.
Uh, the lending part of things is still, as you said, it's still pretty risky. It's what our priority at the moment is allowing people to, as Brianna described, receive, send, pay bills uh, uh, in the not so long future. Use um, Bitcoin as a collateral for their credit cards. But the lending is further down the road on the roadmap just because of the risk associated to it, and a margin call is pretty quickly is not something we want to expose users to, and so it's if you ask me, I think the ones that are if I would have to borrow money against my Bitcoin, I would probably go with a multi-sig setup. Not gonna name names, but I think everybody knows what I'm thinking. What company I'm thinking about when I say a multi-sig setup. Um, and But still, if personally, for what my opinion is worth, I'm not ready to borrow fiat against my Bitcoin. And um, if I'm not ready, I'm not sure if I want to offer it in the short term to our users. So um, it's still maybe a little bit early for the positioning we have, where it's more about allowing people to save safely. Um, and the closest we're going to get, I think, is basically the credit card with Bitcoin as a collateral. It's in some way borrowing against Bitcoin, but it's not in the same it's not the same type of amount, and it's not the same term as well. So the risk is probably more under control.
So let's break that down. That's a good point. The lending market, there's not really like Bitcoin's not valuable enough maybe for like the broader group of people to take loans against it and manage that risk. But what you're saying, using Bitcoin as collateral, maybe for card purposes, is that basically like if I needed to go buy a refrigerator because my refrigerator goes out and I don't have 1,000 in cash, but maybe I have 20 grand in Bitcoin, I can pledge, whatever, like 40% LTV for my Bitcoin to like pay off the fridge, and then I kind of dollar cost average and pay down that loan over time? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so it just works like any other credit card, right? You receive a line of credit, except you put your Bitcoin down as collateral, like you just said, right? And then you pay off your credit card at the end of the month or whenever you can. We're going to be competitive with our interest rates, of course. And I think, you know, there's so much freedom for so many people around the world who don't have good credit scores, who maybe don't participate in the traditional banking system, and who do have Bitcoin to put down as collateral, right? I think also as folks in emerging markets get access to our credit card, which I hope will, be in the next year or so. As those folks get access to having like actual credit, may not be much, but it's a lot better than having none at all, right? Um, but but yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just like any other credit card. You just use your Bitcoin as collateral and then pay it off at the end of the month.
So much better rates since I'm kind of acting as my own bank and my own lender, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, basically. And you don't have to spend your Bitcoin, which is the best part. Um, you know, I imagine a lot of us have had to probably sell Bitcoin for this or that. And it's not the best feeling, especially when you're still trying to build your stack. Um, but if you don't have to do that and you can continue to save this, this amazing currency, then it solves a lot of problems, I think.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
also
very
think we
cool.
lost Alan here.
Yeah, it looks like we did. We'll just send him another invite when he gets back. What are
Yeah.
we? What are you guys excited about? Maybe what am I or Nate not asking that you think needs to be expressed? That's coming down the line for these money apps of the future that involve Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think so. I've touched on this a little bit before, but making Bitcoin an inclusive, very easy, stress-free experience. Um, I think that's going to be the game changer, right? If you look at what Cash App is doing with Bitcoin, which is something I'm really excited about because they really understand people clearly. If they're able to have this many users, using their app on a daily basis, they clearly understand human behavior. And I think, the key to building these types of money apps, these super apps, if you will, is understanding people, understanding their stories, understanding, how they operate in the daily world, what they actually need, instead of coming up with features that maybe just don't make sense for people or are frivolous. I think that's really going to change the game with these money apps because if you've ever used like a Chase app or Wells Fargo or whatever, it's a horrible experience. And I think it turns people off, to the idea of actually becoming more in charge of their finances. And I really don't want that to happen with Noah. I think Noah is going to succeed because it makes money easy and stress free, and simple. And it makes you feel like you do have control over your money, which you do with Noah. So, that's what I'm really excited about is seeing more of these apps being developed where people are really exploring user experience, right? And making it so much better, integrating with other applications, integrating with other services to build, these very powerful, very capable apps is also going to be very big. And, I think just general interoperability, right? Being able to use your money anywhere on the internet. If we can, if we can really nail that down, then, it's game over for traditional finance, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Are you guys making it possible, since you're not like a bank, like you said? Are you guys going to be offering a non-custodial solution long term, where someone might just be able to register like with a Proton mail without having to give up like personal info, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, so we are definitely looking into that. It's a little bit tricky for legal reasons, but basically, I think the big question is, how do you build a truly non-custodial app uh, while also maintaining the beautiful, wonderful user experience of a custodial app, right? Um, oh, Alan's on, can speak to this a little bit, but technically Noah is non-custodial, not it's not self-custody, but technically we are not custodians of your money. We have this multi-sig sort of functionality that we put into place, and so there is that as part of our plan. But as for like a fully self-custodial model, I would love to see that in while maintaining this very easy to use platform, right? So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
see.
and speaking for myself, I'm very much. Brianna could tell you I'm very much in favor of self custody, um, and but when you look at Noah's mission, and we want to onboard the next billion people onto Bitcoin. I'm not sure the next billion people are going to be able. I'd like to. I mean, I hope, but I'm not sure it's realistic to expect everyone to use a cold card um, with a Wasabi wallet or Spectre or something like that. And so while so it's basically, I mean, I remember in Miami there was a lady from Spiral, I think, and so those guys they are developing hardware with an app to try to solve this problem of self. We're approaching this differently. And I think if you I think it's a more practical approach, because there is no other device with Noah. It's everything on your phone, and it's not hardcore self custody, but it's non-custodial. And I'm going to try to explain this as simple way as possible. It relies on multi-party computing, and so basically the private key doesn't reside on any device as a whole, but there are shards of the private key with there is one share, a component, basically one shard of the private key with our custodian partner, one on a server at Noah, and one on the user device. And so the signing happens when the information contained in those three shards constitute the private key and allows for the signing. And so the reason why it's non-custodial, it's because the only individual that can trigger the assembling, and it's not really an assembling, it's a sequence signing through MPC, and the only person who can trigger this is the end user. So the only person who can sign a transaction, trigger the signing of a transaction, and release the funds is the end user. Noah can do this, and our technology partner can't do this, and it's only you. And it's everything happens through your device with a PIN, password. You can use your fingerprint if you want, but at the end of the day, it's the end user that says yes or no and triggers the signing of the transaction to release the funds and move them to another address. And and we believe that the way we bring a non-custodial solution to the masses in a convenient way where my mom can use it. My mom will never use a cold card, right? She sees me doing this sometimes, and she still doesn't know what to do. And she actually has a Nano X coupled with her iPad, and she doesn't know really how to use it. I can explain 5, 10 times, and she says, "You've got to be here the day I want to move my Bitcoin, because I can't do this on my own." And so maybe hopefully I'm gonna be able to migrate my mom on Noah, and she's gonna have something she can use autonomously that is non-custodial.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, Alan. But basically, we do want to onboard, the next billion. I think that's what everyone says, right? But it is definitely a priority to maintain, very, very secure app. However, user experience is also very key in onboarding the next billion. I think it's like the top priority right now.
That's great. Well, I think we have some time. If anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hand and jump up and ask if you'd like. One thing, while we're waiting for others to maybe raise their hand and ask, I'm really excited to see like how you guys handle like some of the education and like teaching people early on about like sovereignty and just cold storage and teaching people to have a balance. Because I imagine a lot of users who come to learn Bitcoin for the first time could very well be through Noah or any of these just money apps that are going to be coming to the phone over the next 5 to 6 years. It'll be interesting to see what type of impact that makes on the average Coinbase user, how they hold something like, I can't remember, I think it's 2 million Bitcoin, but it would be really cool to see like where that Bitcoin moves, like a higher percentage to cold storage, but maybe people also keep like a small portion of their stack inside one of these money apps and use their Bitcoin to just advance their lifestyle outside of hodling. So that's going to be really interesting to see, I think, long term.
Yeah, and I agree. I think there is a balance, right? Because if you want to actually put your Bitcoin to use on a daily basis, for example, if you live in a country where your currency is pretty much worthless, but you have Bitcoin and you have the ability to spend it, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people that will find a lot of use in Noah in that particular situation. But then there are also a bunch of people who want a mixture, who want to keep their Bitcoin in cold storage and some in Noah as well, because maybe they want to save a little bit on it. Maybe they want to transact using Bitcoin, right? But I think if we're talking about folks in emerging markets who are going to be interacting with Bitcoin for the first time, educating about cold storage is really going to be way further down the line, and I think it's still going to be a topic that is going to remain niche amongst the Bitcoin community, but I would love to see more people putting their Bitcoin in cold storage. Just not sure it's super realistic for the average user, right, who just doesn't want to think about their Bitcoin, who is using it out of necessity or who's using it because they have a terrible currency wherever they live, and because they have to. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it's already so difficult to educate folks about Bitcoin just as a concept, cryptocurrency as a concept, right? Even very close friends of mine who were probably going to rip their heads off from listening to me talk about Bitcoin for one more second, they still come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I have a friend who also works in Bitcoin," and it's like, "Oh, really? Cool. It's something called Solana or something, right?" And I still it's so crazy to me, but people still really conflate cryptocurrency with Bitcoin, and so if we take a step back away from the bubble, I think that we're all in Bitcoin, which is a beautiful bubble, but still, we are in a bubble. It's so hard for people to grasp this concept of a digital currency, and it's even harder for folks to grasp the difference between Bitcoin and other currencies. And so I think for us, the first step is making that distinction and saying, hey, this is what Bitcoin is, and this is what other cryptocurrencies are. And then we can start talking about cold storage maybe later down the line. But even getting folks to understand what Bitcoin is really, really challenging. Hopefully it becomes less challenging over time. But like I said, what's going to be key in adoption is really uh, getting the narrative, I guess, making it click into people's heads. It's so hard.
Yeah, I would agree. The people I connect with best and most are the ones who want to come over and break bread and have dinner and talk, and walking them through that tends to go much better than just conversational or even over Zoom. So I agree. It's a definite hurdle we can overcome in time. But if there are no other questions from the crowd, we appreciate you guys joining with us today. And is there anything else you would like to share, or any just parting words before we hop off and wrap up for the day?
Totally. If you've just heard of Noah, through this conversation here, or if you've already been following Noah for a while, yay. But if you've just heard of Noah, then, I definitely recommend checking out our website, noah.com, signing up for the wait list. We are in beta testing right now. We do have a beta tester application, which we can give out on Discord. Also join our Discord. It's pretty fun in there. And there's lots of opportunities to stack sats. But yeah, join our wait list, and you'll hear a lot more from us in the coming months. Hopefully we get this app launched to the public in a couple months, maybe 2 to 3 months or something like that. And then you can all see for yourselves how amazing it is. But yeah, go and check it out, and definitely check out our Discord, especially if you like Bitcoin people and Bitcoin things.
Awesome. Well, Brianna and Alan, we appreciate you joining us today and shedding some light on what you guys are doing and how the money apps and just Bitcoin banking type products will work in the future.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
of
much,
course.
guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, for everyone else here, over the next few weeks, we're going to be making some announcements. We'll have Jeff Booth on, Samson Mao, Stacy and Max, and some others down the pipe. So feel free to tune in on Wednesdays, and we'll be sure to announce these a week in advance. But everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Bye.